Mr. Beast and the Haunted Jail. If you watch Mr. Beast's videos, you know that he takes on different challenges on YouTube. But in 2019, instead of his usual extreme challenges, Mr. Beast, aka Jimmy Donaldson, decided to do something different. Instead of exploring a mysterious jungle or island, he and his team chose to spend 24 hours in one of the most haunted places in the world. His team members, Tariq, Chad, Connor, Chris, Josh, and Jake, were excited but also scared. They packed ghost hunting equipment like EMF meters, infrared cameras, night vision cameras, flashlights, walkie-talkies, and extra batteries. Their destination? Ohio State Penitentiary, an abandoned prison in the U.S., considered one of the most haunted places in the world. As soon as they entered the prison, they understood why it was called so terrifying. This six-floor prison, spanning over 100,000 square feet, looked eerie and abandoned. A guard there told them that in 1930, a fire broke out in the prison, killing 300 prisoners. Many prisoners died fighting among themselves, and some even took their own lives. People say that their spirits still haunt the prison. The guard also warned them not to split up and to avoid making any jokes about ghosts. He specifically warned them not to go near the hospital and the church inside the prison. Even though they were scared after hearing these stories, Mr. Beast and his team decided to go inside and investigate whether ghosts actually exist. Their challenge? To survive 24 hours in the haunted prison. The ghost hunt begins. After exploring a part of the prison, they set up a base camp in the main hall because it was spacious and close to the entrance. Then they decided to split into two teams. Team 1, Mr. Beast, Chad, and Josh, exploring the hospital. Team 2, Chris, Jake, Connor, and Tariq, exploring the solitary confinement block, where prisoners were left alone to suffer. The haunted hospital. Mr. Beast, Chad, and Josh climbed the rusty iron stairs of the hospital, filming with their EMF meters. Inside one room, they found an old movie poster and started joking about it. Suddenly, Chad's EMF meter started blinking rapidly. At the same moment, Mr. Beast heard a loud siren, even though there was no active siren in the prison. Strangely, Chad and Josh didn't hear anything. When Mr. Beast pointed the EMF meter towards the direction of the siren, it flashed even more violently. As they followed the source, the EMF meter reacted more aggressively, leading them to an open room. As soon as Mr. Beast tried to enter, he suddenly felt dizzy and his head became heavy, forcing him to step back. Realizing something was off, they tried finding a way out, but to their shock, they kept walking in circles, even though they took different routes each time. Solitary confinement horror. Meanwhile, Chris, Jake, Connor, and Tariq were inside the solitary confinement area, where prisoners were left to starve and die. Using night vision cameras, they reached a haunted hotspot, where a guard had told them that ghosts had scratched people and even killed the guard. Suddenly, Chris felt a heavy pressure on his head and had difficulty breathing. At the same time, Jake screamed in terror. He had seen a dark, shadowy figure moving toward him. When the others turned around, they also saw the shadow, but just as it got closer, it vanished into thin air. The three panicked and started discussing the shadow. That's when Jake felt something breathing right next to him, but there was no one there. Suddenly, the dark figure appeared again, standing right in front of them. Terrified, they screamed and ran away, alerting the rest of the team through their walkie-talkies. Disturbing voices in the church. Mr. Beast, Chad, and Josh heard the distress call but thought their teammates were pranking them. But then their walkie-talkie suddenly played an eerie sound before shutting off completely. The prison had an old church, which used to be an execution hall where prisoners were hanged to death. It was said that the spirits of those executed still haunted the area. Mr. Beast, trying to lighten the mood, pretended to be a priest while joking with Chad. Suddenly, their walkie-talkie turned on again. This time, Chris was asking for their location. Mr. Beast jokingly replied, but right after that, a creepy voice of a woman interrupted their call. When they listened carefully, the woman's voice said, "It's raining outside." But the way she spoke wasn't normal. It sounded distorted and terrifying. Chad even felt like she was laughing strangely. Then the voice stopped. Confused and frightened, they rushed back to the main hall. only to notice that it had actually started raining outside. Lightning flashed across the sky, making Chad and Josh even more terrified. But instead of being scared, Mr. Beast seemed excited. He was planning something. What happens next? What was Mr. Beast thinking? What happened to his friends who saw the dark shadow? The next part of this